Dolphins requested Mike McDaniel, singular, unless he has a brother that they also requested. Well, let's see if playoff Jimmy can win some games because bring up passing stats in the playoffs, 12 and 20 passes a game out here. Look, if they may have interviewed him before, in which case they may really want him because he's not going to interview well. I don't know if you've ever seen a press conference with him. It's a little awkward, but his track record is legit. He's good at what he does. I mean, look at the difference between the Rams and the Niners is essentially him. I mean, if the Rams had Mike McDaniel, that run game wouldn't look like crap, which is what it looks like right now. And so maybe the Dolphins know exactly what they want. Like, we don't really care what his presentation is or what his leadership is. Like, we had that with Flores. Flores was the essence of a leader. Like, we just need a scheme we trust on offense. Like, well, that's maybe that's your guy. And also, if they hire him, well, that would be a blow to the Niners. Like, that's their ace right here, man. That's their guy. Be a blow. That would not be good. And that would happen soon, right? Like, these things happen now, right? Coaching search time?
Yeah, I mean, the Niners, and that essentially usually the Niners could protect themselves by advancing in the playoffs because typically teams don't really wait for guys. So the longer you advance, the longer you usually keep your staff because teams don't want to wait.
McDaniel's got interviewed by Dolphins before, but for a different job. Okay, so he's been there. They know him. That's good because, like, if you've never met Mike McDaniel, you might be like, it's a little bit like in My Cousin Vinny when the public defender comes out. At first, you're like, you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about? No, yeah. Yes, no. Okay, it's like, oh wow, whoa. But if you know Mike McDaniel's track record, like, he is probably the best run game architect in the league, and some might. I mean, Rams probably want that right about now. So it seems like they probably know what they want, and that might be bad news for the Niners because losing him would be tough.
This is getting off topic, but I think the whole thing with the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins want to be in on the Harbaugh sweepstakes. They wanted him really bad the last time around. I think that's why they fired their coach.
Good point. Thoughts on the McDaniel to Miami head coaching rumor? Damn, people want to talk about this. You just said that you think that they're going to hold out for Harbaugh. So
I think that's why they made the move. I believe their owner is a Michigan alum, and the last time around, I don't know if you guys remember this when
Steve Ross,
Harbaugh they were very close. People reporting it was a done deal, and then the Niners swooped in at the last moment. I think they upped their offer, and they got.
It's true. And he didn't want to go to Miami. He was already out here with his family. But again, the fact that Miami's had this dude in the building before for an interview makes me feel like this is serious. Because Harbaugh may not leave Michigan.
Right. You know? Well, he might not leave Michigan, and he might not choose you. So obviously, if you're Miami, you have to have a backup option. Like, you can't just be left. You don't want to be the Niners back when they were like, oh, we'll just hire Jim Tomasula. Like, no, you got to have backup, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting that McDaniel would get more interest than D'Amico. I mean, both guys have been a coordinator for just 1 year. The Niners' defense is rated higher than their offense. D'Amico played in the league, has much more of like leadership capability. Like, he's much more of a front man, you would think, than McDaniel, who I'm just saying. It's interesting. I would probably lean toward D'Amico, but a lot of people want that offense.
Yeah, I think I would be careful if I was hiring just with these guys that are only in it for 1 year. When you look at a guy like Staley this past year, like, you want to be careful with guys that've only done it for one year. I know, like, you look at Vrabel. Okay,
that's the comparison for Ryan's for me because I know Staley was 1 year, but like, who the hell is Staley? Like, 5 years ago, he was at some William and Mary. I mean, some college I never heard of, wherever. Like, D'Amico played. He was quality control. He was position coach. He's kind of done everything.
I think what you want to ask when you're making those hires are like, I know before you weren't the OC, but like, how heavily involved were you in the organization? Like, I do think
no one's helping D'Amico with defense in the Niners other than his underlings.
I do think McDaniel was heavily involved with the offense, even when he wasn't the offensive coordinator. So I do think that he was heavily, like, it's obviously Kyle's baby, but McDaniel has long been known as the architect of that run game. So he's I'm not gonna say he was offensive coordinator to name, but he was the run game coordinator. He was the architect of that run game for a while. I don't know how much D'Amico was involved with schematic, and I know he was involved with the development of the linebackers, but I don't know how much he was involved with the defense. Maybe he was. Maybe he was the guy who was like, we have to go to the wide 9.
That's not the most important consideration for a head coach, though. I mean, Vrabel, like his defense ranked like 30th or something, and he's a good head coach. That's the whole thing with DeMeco. It depends on who he can bring in as his coordinators and what kind of leadership he has, I would say.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about this forever, though.
Right. I was just gonna say the involvement matters because to me it matters with how much more information you're soaking in. You're soaking all the information from positions that you don't know about, or maybe that you're not so familiar with. Because as a head coach, you have to be familiar with all the positions and not just yours.
That's true.